call Rob Chappell.
Just raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Your Honors, at this time we would like to mark our next exhibit as LR Exhibit 17, which is the direct testimony of Robert Chappell.
You shall be so marked.
Mr. Chappell, you have before you a document that has been labeled as LR Exhibit 17. Can you identify that document?
This document will be my written testimony.
Okay. And was this testimony prepared by you or under your supervision?
Yes, it was.
And if you were asked the same questions today as you answered in your direct testimony, would your answers be the same?
Yes, they would.
Do you have any corrections to your testimony?
No, sir.
Okay. At this time, Your Honors, we would make Mr. Chappell available for cross-examination.
If I could just ask one point of clarification, Mr. McClay, the testimony that you just marked as LR 17, what was the filing date of that particular version?
It would have been the corrected version, and I believe the filing date is October 28. 29. October 29.
There was a filing of testimony for Mr. Chappell
October 30th.
October 30th.
Okay. Oh, you're right. You're right. So this would be the testimony in October 30th.
Okay. I just wanted the record to be clear since there were multiple versions.
Appreciate that.
Mr. Parent?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Chappell.
Morning, Spirit.
Can you go to page 7 of your testimony at question 16? Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the question says, do you have any experience with emergency aviation evacuation services? Are you a life flight pilot?
No, sir, I'm not.
What is your role with respect to emergency aviation evacuation?
As a firefighter and paramedic for the city of Tiffin currently, we oftentimes will utilize life flight services for transport of critically ill or injured patients from to the Toledo hospitals.
So there's times where you have to travel on the helicopter with the life flight pilot?
No, sir. That would be a very rare event that they would need the additional people. Usually the aircrafts are relatively confined.
For my understanding, can you give me a scenario where your interaction with the life flight helicopter has with respect to EMS and your personal experience?
Several motor vehicle accidents where we may have a critical patient that would not receive the necessary medical care locally in Seneca County that they could in that Toledo hospital. And that's commonly when a life flight helicopter would be called.
So the real world experience, if you would be going out on an ambulance, correct?
Yes.
And then you would be treating an injured individual, and then if that person needs to be quickly transported to hospital, life flight would come and you would person on the helicopter and the helicopter taking away. Did I summarize that correctly?
Yeah, that's correct.
Oh, roughly.
Our primary objectives in the field is to try and stabilize the patient as best as we can and prepare them for that transport by helicopter.
And since you're not a helicopter pilot, you don't have any type of aviation training.
No, sir, I do not.
Are you familiar with any wind farm projects that, let me restate that. Have you done any type of analysis or looked into any wind farm projects and potential impacts on life flight with respect to those projects?
No, sir, I have not.
And do you know the average distance between the various turbines within the Republic Wind Project area?
I believe that would vary from siting to siting. I don't know if there's an average that's been determined.
Do you know if how close the turbines are to each other would have an impact on helicopter aviation?
I am not a subject matter expert on that.
Do you know how close a helicopter can land next to a wind turbine?
From information I've seen from Life Flight, I believe they requested 1.5 miles for any landing zone from a turbine.
And where was this information that you saw?
This was in a letter put together by, I believe, the director from Life Flight.
Do you know whether or not that letter assessed how close they could, or do you know in preparation of that letter whether or not they assessed how close helicopters could fly to the proposed turbines in this project here?
From what I recall of the letter, I believe they were more concerned with the ceiling height that the helicopters would be able to fly based on the aviation ceiling at that time.
Do you recall what that ceiling height was?
I do not.
So on page 8 of your testimony, line 8 and 9, there's a sentence that states the inability to use this type of rapid transport may have resulted in grave detriment to these trauma victims. So in that sentence, your concern is that there would have been an inability to use ambulance helicopters to transport victims. Is that correct?
Yes, that is a concern of mine.
You don't have any direct knowledge of, or you don't know whether or not air ambulance helicopters will be able to access the project area.
No, sir, I do not.
If you go back to page 7, line 22, there's a sentence that starts, unfortunately. says, unfortunately, there are many occasions when one or more ambulances may be out of service simultaneously due to staffing issues.
Yes.
In that sentence, you're just highlighting the current staffing issue in the project area, correct?
As an individual who has, I began my EMS career, we can call it, volunteering in the Seneca County EMS system, first in Green Springs, later Republic. Both villages are within the project area, or close to it, I should say. The countywide, there are issues with the staffing of the ambulances. It's a volunteer system.
That staffing concern is not directly related to the Republic Way project.
No.
Going back to page 8. Line 20, sentence starts, however. Do you see where I'm at there?
Yes, sir.
However, if the helicopter cannot land next to an accident scene due to the presence of a nearby wind turbine, the EMTs would have to transport the critical patient or patient to the predetermined landing zone. So, based on your current knowledge, you don't know whether or not a helicopter would not be able to land next to a scene due to a wind turbine being there.
No, my concern is that it would not be able to.
And that's just your own opinion, not based on any empirical
Yes, that's
data.
right.
And if you go over to page 9, line 11 through 13, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Time is the most valuable asset to a trauma victim or person having a heart attack. Any added delay in their care may decrease their ability to recover. You don't have any direct knowledge with respect to what types of delay would result to life flight due to the Republican project.
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Van Clay or Ms. Mayor?
No questions, Your Honor.
I have a little bit of redirect. Mr. Chappell, you stated in response to council's questions that you have a concern that there may be an inability for a helicopter to transport a victim. My question is, do you have any other concerns with respect to the wind project related to any delay that may occur even if the helicopter is able to transport the patient?
In the event that a life flight helicopter air ambulance would not be able to fly directly to the scene, if it had to redirect or alter its normal flight path that it would use, that could add potentially minutes to the time it would take for them to first reach that ill or injured patient. The theory would hold that they would probably have to use a very similar flight path then to return back to Toledo to transport that patient, thereby resulting in a couple of delays that would have occurred.
In your testimony, you talk about the use of a landing zone that the first responders would have to, potentially have to take the patient to meet the helicopter. Does that have anything to do with any concerns you may have about delay that may be caused by the presence of turbines?
As also stated in my testimony, one of the common uses for life flight is due to motor vehicle collisions which have occurred. And in that event, it's not uncommon for there to be multiple vehicles and also multiple patients that may have sustained injuries. And as I explained, if there's one patient that is a critical patient requiring the use of life flight, then until another ambulance is there and other EMTs are there at the scene, the other patients cannot be left behind. It would be abandonment.
Based on your experience as an emergency responder, can you explain what, if any, importance there is in avoiding any delay in transporting a patient to a hospital?
Yes, in the pre-hospital setting and throughout emergency medicine, there's a term applied to trauma as the golden hour. It is the 60-minute window that begins with the moment that the person sustains the injury, and that window would then close when they reach the definitive care that they would need. In the event of a trauma patient, that would be somebody that may require surgical intervention to stop something such as an internal bleed, which would not be able to be done locally. It would have to be done in Toledo, most commonly in the area hospital. There's also similar circumstances for patients that might be experiencing a heart attack, myocardial infarction, that we use life flight to also transport those patients. And with that, they refer to it as the door to balloon time for the angioplasty and possible stents to be placed to provide care to that patient in that regard.
How much of a delay can make a difference with respect to the treatment of the patient?
In my opinion, every minute that we can save that patient matters.
All right, I have no further questions.
Any other recross? Mr. Barron?
A couple clarifying questions, Your Honor. Are you aware how close a helicopter can land next to the wind turbine?
No,
No, Your Honor, I'll object. That's outside the scope of redirect.
Mr. Barron?
Well, Your Honor, one of the questions on redirect is with respect to the landing zone. I think the question goes to the fact that the life flight does not necessarily have to land at the landing zone. A life flight has the capability of landing in different areas near the accident scene, near the turbine, which I think addresses the specific concern of Mr. Chappell. So I'm trying to assess whether or not, one, he knows how close the helicopter can be to a turbine, and two, the fact that the helicopter can access different areas of the project area to address health concerns that without necessarily relying on landing zones.
Mr. McClay?
I think you can answer the question.
Okay. You want to restate the question for me?
Sure. Is it your understanding that helicopters accessing the project area would only be able to land at the landing zone?
I'm not familiar with what regard life flight will approach the project, and I would have to assume that they would be willing to land at the predetermined landing zone if that was in fact put in place.
In to the extent that Life Flight could safely land near a turbine, is it your understanding that Life Flight would do so?
I believe that would be to the discretion of the pilot flying that aircraft.
And you don't have any direct knowledge with respect to how close Life Flight could land next to a turbine?
I don't know of any policy that they would have in place for that at this time.
Are you aware of any other Ohio wind farm projects that are required to rely solely upon a landing zone for Life Flight?
I am not aware of any, no.
And Mr. Van Clay asked you a question about potentially having to reroute the helicopter for different scenarios. Are you aware of the cruising height of Life Flight helicopters?
My general information on that is that the height that the aircraft can operate is based on the cloud ceiling for them.
Do you know if the helicopters would be able to fly over the turbine?
I do not know.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Excused.
We would like to move the admission of LR Exhibit 17 to evidence.
Any objection? There being no objection, Exhibit LR 17 shall be admitted as part of the record at this time. Mr. Van Clay, please call your next witness.
Okay. I guess I have an inquiry as to whether you wanted to go with Mr. Staines first? to get
He
his
is not
here?
here. I
Okay.
could call him